preparing all this and staff, so I'm just gonna go over, and I think first, I think you all have done the registrations. My name is Dat Tran. If any of you at any time have trouble hearing me, please raise your hand and I'll stop, because my intent is for you to hear everything I have to present today. And also, if we do have two microphones, we sit left and right of you, so I intend to take question as we go along. We have time, so I want to make sure if you have, we do have question and answer at the end here from 11:15 to 12 o'clock, or 45 minutes for you. But if you do have burning question that you couldn't wait, please raise your hand and I'll stop. I'll make sure that I address your question. So without further ado, I wanted to first introduce, welcome all of you. You are here for the draft state fiscal year 2015-16 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and Proposition 1. So our criteria is written, and it's embedded in the intent of use plan. So this is our public workshop, one of 3 that we're required to do. And for those of you that have been attending our in March, we have done our scoping meetings. For how many of you have attended our scoping meeting back in March? Raise your hand. We have 1. That's fantastic. And all of my staff should be raising their hand, by the way, the one that attended, so you're not paying attention to me, so all right. Okay, welcome back, and I apologize for those of you that I think we are now can relax for the next half an hour, because this is, I'm just being reminded, this is registration time, so I'm not supposed to start yet, I start too early, so please feel free to stand up. And for those of you, I'm going to introduce some of my staff, so you can come and meet them in person and then talk about your projects, because they know everything that I know. So please, let's most definitely. So the bathroom, well, who knows where the bathroom is? All right, so the bathroom is out here to the left, and there's a couple drinking fountain there. And I think one is, the sign is upside down. Don't worry about it as you drink. It's just, it's nice and cold. So I thought about providing bottled water, but I know State Water Board, we don't believe in bottled water. So yeah, you just have to use the drinking fountain. And I think we also, with the package, we have places to eat around here. So part of your package, I think if you haven't picked it up, you can, those of you out of town, places you can eat. And I think one place that's not on there is the Philadelphia Cheesesteak Restaurant. It's just right on Folsom, one of my favorite. So right off of Folsom Boulevard, off of Watt Avenue. So for those of you that haven't tried, it's really wonderful. And I think with other brochure, I guess with this time I can talk about some of the brochure that we have available here, and also all of these brochures are also, we have it on our website for those of you that are logging in and listen to this presentation remotely. One of which is, I think we're in the middle of a drought. So there is a drought. Can James, could you please hold the drought brochure up? So if you, this is very important brochure for all of you if you ever get into a situation where you're running out of water. So there's a lot of resources that's available. And some of the other things are, this is the Proposition 1 funding. that the State Water Board received $7.4 billion. So it has a breakdown of all the different programs. So if you, I'm sure you're here for drinking water, but we have other programs for small community wastewater, water recycling, cleans. This is the clean, safe drinking water. That's us, and stormwater, and also groundwater sustainability. So all these money, and I provided a different link that you can get on and look. I'm sure you're here to help your water system in more than just drinking water. So I'm gonna check the time real quick here. Okay. Well, so I'm gonna have really quickly sort of my staff who stand up right now. Could all of my staff stand up so that folks can see who you are? Noel, could all the staff, Pete, Steinmetz, one of our project managers. So you're looking at, these are the project managers and their senior engineers. Wayne Trinley, who's standing over here, and Brian Kinney to my right, and Noel Gordon. Those are my three senior engineers who's have all the project managers. When you apply, they're going to be working with you. So please, those are your friends, okay? And of course, the one person you need to know the most here is James Mon, my boss. He's the one with the deep pocket. You know, yeah, he really enlightened me when I came over to the board that don't worry about the limit. We have fundings. You know, you apply. If you come in for loan, we have all the money that you could imagine. So if not, I need not worry. His financing folks will find the money. So Jim, you have any word you wanted to say? Yeah, but I like standing, Jim. I mean, this is how is the mic too close? Oh, most definitely. Yes, I'm reminded if you speak, we do have the two mic here that will have runners. Who are my runners? What? James is one, and the other runners could John Paul, could you please kind of, you know, when we started, if you could sit over the other side, that way you can run faster, or Jim like to run. Fantastic, thank you. Yes, can everyone see the monitor? You're welcome to move, by the way. It's a little unique that we don't have a big screen monitor here, but you just have to look at the four on either side of you or behind you. I know this is really small if you look at the one in front. So for those of you that sit right in the middle, I'm concerned about if you can't see. And don't sprain your neck looking left and right. Just feel free. It's exactly the same. Yes, and I try to put my staff put the page number, so I'll try to refer to it. There's 25 total slides. So where we are, you'll be able to see us. It's wonderful to see everybody with a wonderful smile on. I hope that your smile get bigger by the time my presentation is finished, because we have money for you, and we're here to serve you and work with you. So please take full advantage of the 3 hours we have together. And I know so far I see one person took advantage of the staff here, and you're welcome to sit close to them. And okay. welcome back. Okay, so my name is Dat Tran, and the time now is 9:30, and I want to welcome all of you to the Proposition 1 public workshop. This is the first of 3 that we're doing this month. So if you have friends and people that were not able to attend this one, and this presentation is recorded, so you're welcome to rewatch it. If you couldn't get enough of me, then watch it again. But now I wanted to introduce the panel. We have first my boss, Jim Mon. Jim, do we have a mic for Jim? You want to say something, Jim? Jim is our deputy.
You keep talking.
Okay. Jim. Anyway, Jim is the man with the money, so all right, that's all you need to know. And also we have our chief legal counsel, Ann Hartridge, with us, State Water Board. She makes sure that I don't make any mistakes. So, and also I have with us is our my senior engineers, Brian Kinney. Brian Kinney will be presenting the last workshop in Riverside. I could not make that one. And Wington Lee, our senior engineer, who's over. Now the 3 senior, and then Noel Gordon is our other senior engineer. And of course, please, all the project managers from the State Water Board, could you please stand up one more time so staff recognize you. These are the folks that when you apply to funding, you'll be working with them. So they're your real friends. Okay, so today, this is our timeline that we have, and we'll start the presentation at 9:45. We'll have from 11:15 we have a break, so you can stretch out and take notes and talk to our staff. 11:45 to noon we have our question and answer, so that's when you can ask us anything. But during the presentations, if you have burning question that you would like to ask, please raise your hand. We do have 2 microphones because this is recorded, so I ask that you raise your hand if you want to ask question, and until you get the microphone, please don't start speaking. In fairness of folks that are calling in, we want your questions are important, and so we want them to hear your questions and my answer, and our answer. So thank you. Okay, so I'm going to I think I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation here. Before I start, are there any questions? For those of you that arrived late, we do have I'm not. Yeah, so the restroom are just right outside to your left, and the drinking fountain are to your right. So feel free to use them. Okay. Again, my name is Dat Tran, and I'm the chief of the Drinking Water Technical Assistance Section in the Division of Financial Assistance. And okay, today, so topic for today is here. We're going to go through our introduction to the program, the funding process, the application and requirements, eligibilities, definitions, some of the definitions, and median household income, economically distressed area. This is something new for the Proposition 1, and the prioritization of projects, so that you can gain an understanding on how we prioritize, with all the money that we have. I mean, how does projects come in and get out, in what order, and things like that. The drinking water SRF categories, what change was made to it, the grant limits. I mean, that's important. We don't have limits on loan, but there are limits on grants. The financing package, how what potentially your package may look like, the different funding sources, and we'll go through an example. So, we'll let you know the timeline where we go from here and how to apply and the contact information. Some of you, I hand out my business card, and I have more here, but my contacts and my staff contacts is on the very last slide. So a little bit about this. Many of you know and heard of the Safe Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. But did you know that roughly about $83 million is all we get a year? So it's very limited. And of that, 30% of that is the most that we can give out as grant or forgiveness of principal. That's about $25 million. That's it. Okay, that's not very much. And this is where I wanted to touch a little bit on how do we end up with that money. We actually, every 4 years, US EPA conduct a national needs survey for the entire state. I mean, for the entire nation. So all of the states participating in it are competing. So we have to demonstrate what are our needs as compared to other states' needs. So for California in 2011, our needs, we were able to show roughly just over $39 billion of drinking water infrastructure needs for the state of California. 39, roughly $40 billion. And what does that get us? It gets us about 9% of the national needs compared to other folks. So 9% equate to, for the next 4 years from that time, is $83 million. That's it. So if you do the math, $83 million and the $40 billion that we show that we need in the state for the next 20 years, each year we need about $2 billion. And $83 million over that is roughly 4%. So we get 4% of what we need. But yet we continue in having to show that we need more, because if we show that we need less, the other states show they need more, then our number is going to go down. So why am I talking about all of this? Is important because this year, 2015, some of you already been contacted by our project managers because we're in the middle of doing another needs survey, 2011, 2015. So this is where we ask for your help. Help us, help you, help California. You know, bring more jobs here. It's very important, even though it's, and what's great about having, so we're not limited by just this funding, that's $83 million. Since we come to the State Water Board, formerly we were, the drinking water program was with the California Department of Public Health. So since coming over with the Clean Water SRF and the audit experience, this is where Jim Mon come in. He really opened our eyes. We are now, we can leverage our money that we have. We can work between the different programs and really raise the limit. So we're not being limited by the $83 million that EPA give us every year. We find money elsewhere. We go and sell bond if we have to. So, but we still do need that funding coming from the federal, because state revolving fund is a revolving, 60, a third of it, 66% of it is supposed to be revolving, and the other 30% is we're giving out as forgiveness of principal. So that money is going one way, that's to you, and it's not coming back. So we need to grow the program. We need that federal funding come into California. So um, look at your capital improvement plans, and when our engineer talk to you, please help them. So the SRF is one source of funding. Now the other source that we just got here was Proposition 1, this Chapter 5, Section 79724, which is specifically give us $260 million that we can make available as grants and loans to public water system with, like yourself, looking to improve their infrastructures. And all the related actions that you need to do to meet the safe drinking water standards and to ensure affordable drinking water, or both. So these two funding sources, I think it's very important here, when it comes to drinking water. These are the main two funding sources, the Drinking Water SRF and Proposition 1, this particular section. So when I talk about all of this, I hope that you would gain an understanding that we just have basically one program, one funding program, one process, different funding sources. I think this is very important. So when you apply for funding. We'll find the best package for you. So funding process, we utilize the drinking water SRF policy, all the applicable federal and state statutes and regulations and the guidance that we describe in the draft 15-16 intent of use plan. In there, we show how we're going to administer the funding and how money is being rolled out. And the Proposition 1 guideline is embedded in there. So we're trying to make, to the most extent possible, the two to be the same. Drinking Water SRF, Proposition 1. There are some minor differences, but for the most part, all the criteria and everything is the same. So what we've done, we simplify the process. When I said that, we're not creating a new application process. The application process, for those of you that have received funding from the Clean Water SRF program, we use the fast application process, and that's the same process that we use for this new funding. So when you just get on our webpage and apply to the fast application process. So the process is and what we do is we're going to package the best possible financing package to you. And that package, when it comes to drinking water, it may be just, it's just drinking water SRF and also the Proposition 1. But there could be other funding sources. And I just want to touch real quick on the other funding sources. If you are applying and the nature of your application is such that you need some hot water, for instance, bottled water and things like that, so we can marry you up with other funding sources that on an interim basis will get your customer water while you are solving while you're looking for and building your permanent solution. So that's just some of the other funding sources that we have, mainly Proposition 84, emergency, Part 1, interim water supply, the real emergency, and also cleanup and abatement, which we also have those kind of funding for interim water supply. And also the drought, that's the other thing. We have drought money, limited funding. So you have a drought emergency, we can assist you with that. So about this application, there are one application. all the fundings that we have with the State Water Board is really just one funding application. So there's nothing new. As we get more funding from other sources, it's going to be the same application process. So when you apply, there's 4 different packages that you're applying. You have to complete the general application package, the technical, environmental, and financial package. And so this is important. You wanted to do your best and complete all the packages, because this is first come, first serve. So it's important that you do your best to complete as much as you can, because we need a complete packages for us to process the application. Because our goal is to give you the financing agreement. If you don't give us what we need, it's going to be hard to get to the financing package. So, and since we're marrying up the fundings, in order for us to allow to make the funding most flexible, to give you the most funding possible, we ask that all applicants comply with the federal cross-cutter, because there are situations where you hit a limit on a certain fundings, then we have to use other fundings like this, the drinking water SRF funding. We're not able to do that because you didn't do cross-cutter. So from our experience, it's best that we ask you to complete the federal cross-cutting requirement. That way we can offer you the best package possible. And sometimes there's a situation where you go and apply for certain funding in the past, and here's our limit, and your projects went over. And instead of coming and not being able to increase the funding because the other funding source, that federal source, that you didn't do cross-cutter, for instance, it makes it very challenging. So we wanted to offer the most flexible possible package. So we ask you to complete comply with the federal cross-cutters, and also TMF, technical, managerial, and financial capacity. I want to spend a little time on this. Who here is familiar with TMF? Have you heard of TMF? I see one hand, 2, 3, 4. That's great. And we have one representative from the Indian tribes here, and they've heard of TMF. TMF is really is what you need in order to survive, to make if your system is sustainable or not. It depends on what kind of TMF you have. So I think, it's our responsibility, and it's required of us. We give you your funding, that you have a system that you can run it. That it's not gonna be some money just to put a bandage over your water system. So technically, you have to have the knowledge to run your system, the right operators and things like that. And excuse me, I'm gonna clear my throat. And who's managing your system too? There has to be right people in place to manage your system, and most importantly, financially, do you have the money to operate and maintain your system? Not only operate and maintain, but to put a little bit of money aside for your rainy days. That CIP we're talking about. Are you putting some money aside? So that when the times that you need to replace something, you have money for that. So TMF is very important. And we recognize that there are some systems that without the economy of scale is very difficult. So that's where we want to look at, and I'll talk about consolidation potential. So any system that are small, less than 10,000 population, when you evaluate the engineering solution for your system, one of the solutions should be considered is consolidation. Now, why are you considering that? It's because you have to look at the long-term viability of your water system. Are you better off consolidating with a neighbor system? Or are you going to be able to stand on your own and survive? So that's very important. So one thing is all this funding, we do not fund operation and maintenance. But what we do fund is when you look at the consideration of operation and maintenance, when you compare the different alternatives. So one alternative on consolidation might be the capital is very expensive, for consolidation. But when you look at the 20 years, 30 years operation and maintenance, when you projected that out, that one option might be the best option, because drilling a well, doing something else might be cheaper than running a mile pipe to consolidate. However, if you have to put treatment on the well and you have to hire, the treatment operator to do that, and then all these things you have to do, if you say it by yourself, then that operation cost, even though we don't fund, we consider that, we add that to the capital cost of that alternative and compare that to the consolidation alternative, which have a higher capital O&M, capital and lower O&M in the long run, and that might be the best option. So we ask for all the small water system, less than 10,000 population, must consider consolidation as an alternative. Okay, and and there are some trailer bill language here that will allow us to work with you much more closely on consolidation, because we so that's all I wanted to touch on that. So eligibility, before I move on, are there any questions in the audience? Does anyone want to hear a different voice than mine? So anyway, okay, so eligibility, who's eligible? Well, here's all the eligible applicants: public agency, non-profit organization, public utilities, mutual water companies, or the federally recognized Indian tribes, state Indian tribes, that's listed on the Native American Heritage Commission, California Tribal Consultation List. So most everybody is eligible for this funding. The eligible projects. Now projects doesn't have to be comes in. If you're not ready, you can apply for planning, design, constructions, public water system infrastructure improvement that relate to actions to meet drinking water standards. So if you come in and you're not ready, this funding might be for you also. If you come in and just we'll work with you and give you up to $500,000 grant limit for planning, if you're eligible for that. If not, your planning projects could be more than that, but you just have to take a loan from us, and it's a very low interest loan, 1.6%. Okay, so some of the definition here, and I know that this is very rough, but when you hear us speaking grant and forgiveness, principal forgiveness, what does that all mean? I think to you it's just all grant, but there is, when we say grant, we more refer to Proposition 1, but when we talk about principal forgiveness, it's the drinking water SOF grant portion of it. And because federally, we're not allowed to give you grants, so we just say, we'll give you a loan, but we'll forgive the principal. It's just a different way of saying it. So, and the MHI, you hear, I use that term a lot, which is the median household income, that represent the median value of the service area of a public water system. So how many of you think the median household income is the same as the average household income? Just checking on. Is it the same? Anybody have an idea? Is the median household income the same as an average? I see a lot of shaking the head, so you're correct, it's not. Median household income is the middle. 50 on top, 50 on the bottom. If you don't have the 50-50, you average the two middle one and you get that median household income. So people above you, people under you, if you're in the middle, you are the median. You represent the median household income for the water systems. And loans, when we talk about loans, it's something obviously you know, it's payable financing instrument that we use, and this include loans, bonds, installments, sales agreement, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness. So when you get a loan from us, we have to look at all this. The disadvantaged community, sometimes you hear it's a DAC. Don't be mistaken for my name, DAT. It's DAC with a C. Okay. And this is for the entire service, if your entire service area of the communities in which the median household income is less than 80% of the statewide median household income. So the next slide will show you what those numbers are. And severely disadvantaged community, SDAC, is less than 60% of the statewide median household income. So here's the 2015 California statewide MHI, $61,094. So 80%, less than 80% of that is $48,874. So if your water system is that of 48,874 or less, then you're eligible for forgiveness of principal or grant. Okay. Now, if you're severely, which is your severely disadvantaged community, 36,655 or less, you're eligible for up to 100% grant. Now, I'm going to touch on why is it you're eligible for up to and not 100 in a little bit. And it has to do with our limit. We have a limit. If your project exceed that, then obviously you can only hit our limit. So the how are we? What do we use to evaluate your MHI? We use the state water board. We utilize the American Community Survey to determine your median household income, and this is something that we train our project managers to do. So when you come in to apply, they can look up and see where your MHI, what is the MHI of your water system. So, and the other thing that I want to touch on is this, oh, we have a question. Let me back up. Question. Can James? Thank you, James.
Is it okay to ask questions in the middle?
Yes, it is okay. It is encouraged. We do have question and answer at the end, but if something that, please, ask the question.
So it's kind of a two-part question. Number one, can you just define community water system? And then number two, if you are larger than a community water system, but you have pockets of your overall service area that are disadvantaged communities within the entire service area, how these definitions may or may not apply.
Yeah. Okay, so Our definition, and we have staff here writing down all the questions so that we make sure we capture and answer your question. If it's not clear enough, we'll address it later. But the community water system, we define community as, so you start out as a public water system. Public water systems, that when there's the Division of Drinking Water permit you, public water system is that system that serve 15 or more service connection or 25 or more people.
Dad, I'm going to jump in for a second.
Yes.
The
Well,
community water system is defined in statute. It's community water system means a public water system that serves at least 15 service connections used by year-long residents or regularly serves at least 25 year-long residents of the area served by the system. And that is from Health and Safety Code section 116275, paragraph I.
So there's a minimum but no max.
That's correct.
thank you so much, Ann. So that's the first question. And so 15 or more service connections or 25 or more people, you're serving at least 60 days out of the year. And then furthermore, a public water system you can break down to transient, non-community, and so forth. But communities is basically where people live. You don't have a choice. You go home. It makes up of homes instead of restaurant or schools where there's a mass that comes and then they leave. So, okay, and the second part of the question is if your communities have served pockets of disadvantage. Well, we recognize that there are these situations, but when it comes to funding, we evaluate your system as a whole, because you do have that economy of scale. How your rate structure is paid for, I think you set for as a community, as a water system, not in different pockets. So we so that's the I hope that answered your question. We look at the entire service area of the water systems when we determine the median household income. Okay, any other question before I move on? Yes, Mike. Could you wait until the mic comes? Thank you so much.
For the American Community Survey, do you know at what point that data was pulled? What year?
I know that we use the census data, and I'm gonna look to see if.
So this is Jim Mon. It's my understanding that data is the reason we use that. It's available online, free, so everyone can check it. I believe what they do is extrapolate after each census data, so they update it on a regular basis. It's probably yearly updated. We can get more information out. We'll get your card and get you some information on that.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so this is something new. In Proposition 1, we're asked to look at economically distressed area. So this is a little bit different from the strictly median household income and where you are in here. But if you meet the economically distressed area, then you're also eligible for some grant funding. So this is how we interpret it, and as proposed, economically distressed area, populations, you have to be less than 10,000 populations. So this is twice as big as our small, the small water system. Right, 20, less than 20. Population is less than 20, so this is twice as much as the small water system, 10,000 population. I just wanted to point that out. So there's a little bit different here. So you are, so we're talking about if you're not disadvantaged. You know, you're not disadvantaged, you're not severely disadvantaged, but if you fit this economically distressed definition, then you potentially could get some grant funding. So I want to spend some time on it, make sure everybody understand. So first thing is you have to meet all of the three and one of the number one and number two. So the first one is you have to be less than 20,000 population. The other one is your median household income has to be less than 85 of the statewide median household income. So if you're one of those that you say, I just miss it, I'm 82, I'm 80, I'm not less than 80, I'm 80, 81. So, but you're still in it as far as economic distress is concerned. And then the third things here is financial hardship. So right now we're proposing the financial hardship. That means your average water rate exceed the 1.5% of the median household income. So you need to be paying at least 1.5% of your water toward, of your income toward water, 1.5% minimum. So if you meet all those three, and you just need to meet one more there below, and that is, first one is unemployment rate must be at least 2%, 2 percentage points above the statewide unemployment rate, or you're in the low density population area. So what we're proposing right now is that's 20 people per square mile. Are there any question on this slide? So it is conceivably is possible that if you are not a small water system, you are not disadvantaged by the 80% or less, but you're 85, less than 85, you're 80, you know, then and you have the financial hardships and you meet either unemployment or low density populations, then you could be eligible for grant funding from Proposition 1. So that is our proposal right now. Okay, so how do we prioritize all these projects that's coming to us? You know, we have lots of funding for loans, but there's always a competition for grants. As you saw earlier, I mentioned the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. From the federal side, we get about $83 million a year. Of that, we can only give out 30% to $25 million. So that's our limit. The other one is, and then there's this Prop 1 that we also have limit. And we'll touch on some of those limit of grant. We have to place this limit on there just because we recognize that there's, yeah, we have a hand here, yes. Let me get a.
Thank you. I just wanted to know the figure that you're using for the unemployment rate, the statewide average unemployment.
Okay, so the question is, how do we use?
What current figure are you using now for the average statewide average? Above the statewide average. Which is the statewide average? Do you have a figure, a current figure for that?
Jim,
So yeah, it's
This
probably
is a-
hard. I'm sitting behind there, so you can't see me. So this is what's proposed. This is draft still. We haven't used any unemployment numbers yet. We're using the median household income numbers currently for a number of our programs. The unemployment we haven't used. This is what we're proposing. So the answer is we don't have those numbers yet. We're also working with the Department of Water Resources, Prop 1. All this area that Dad's talking about has to be in conjunction with the Department of Water Resources, and we're fine-tuning this aspect of Prop 1 in economically distressed areas.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, this is new. I mean, this is brand new to us, so we're working, and this is our proposal right now. We don't have all the answer, but we will soon. So let's go back. How do we, I mean, there is a way, we have to prioritize all this demand for funding, grant fundings, and so forth. So one thing is, I mentioned, everything is coming with fund in the order, application complete, or receive and complete and approve. But we will give priorities to systems that have a higher health-based categories. Everything is eligible, but if something is a hazard for folks that are out of water and so forth, they get a higher priorities than other systems. When we say, when everything is given is equal, we have to look at that. The other one is projects that benefit small communities, water system in the disadvantaged and severely disadvantaged area. So we do this because we know that those are the most vulnerable systems, and they don't have the financial, don't have the economy scale, and don't have that financial backing or the reserve and so forth, like some of the other systems. So they receive that, we prioritize them in that order. And thirdly, we have the project that provides shared solution. At least one of the communities have to be that serve a disadvantage or severely disadvantaged. So regional solution, projects that benefit 3 or more systems receive special consideration for grant funding. And lastly, project will result in consolidation of water system. I think that's gonna be, we recognize that we're here to help you short-term and long-term. So the short-term, we can give you the, we can approve your projects, but if we see that it's something that is not gonna help you sustain, that's why we look at consolidation, and we give special consideration to consolidation small disadvantaged water system. Okay, so here's the categories that we have in the drinking water SRF. You have the immediate health risk, category A, or the untreated and at-risk sources. B, C would be compliance or water shortage issues. D is your inadequate reliability. E is secondary risk. So D is something that I know some of the smaller water systems, you guys don't think about it because it's not, we're just struggling to make it and comply with A, B, and C. So you're not even thinking about D, E, or F or other projects. But it's very important that as a small disadvantaged communities, you have to think about your CIP, the capital improvement plan, and look at the projects that you wouldn't even think about. This is part of being proactive. This is if you want to survive and stay sustainable like the large water system, you have to think like a large water system. Be proactive, develop a plan, and these fundings are available for your projects, not just the one that you're reacting to, the one that our drinking water regulators, give you a citation and so forth. Projects that that are in the lower categories are now eligible. So it's very important that you look at them, bring those projects forward, and work with us. We can help you finance those projects. Okay, so here's a limit that we're proposed right now. Grant limits for planning projects, $500,000, $500,000. There's no limit for loans on planning, but there is a limit for grants, just $500,000. And we've raised the limit under currently the drinking water SRF have a grant limit of $3 million. Forgiveness of principal, we've raised with the Proposition 1, we've raised the limit to $5 million. From $3 million to $5 million, forgiveness of principal. However, we recognize that to be a good steward of the money, we are proposing to place a $25,000 per service connection limit to the grant. Okay, so the $25,000 per service connection limitation, who here knows that what system size would be affected by the $25,000 per service connection limit? Do you think if you are a system with 500 service connection, do you care? Anyway, just so if you take $5 million limit and you divide it by the 25,000 per service connection, you end up with 200. So if you're 200 service connection or less, this limitation apply to you.